analysis for week 3. I'm Jason Gilbo, Gilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Running through some value, cash, and GPP running back picks here. And you're obviously talking about really, on DraftKings, there's quite a bit of value guys you can kind of go after.
This is a really easy week, in my opinion. I just think it's really straightforward with where you should be going. At least with your first tier and cash game options, I think there's quite a few that, fit into lineup construction really well and also, fit into tournament construction. So I think this is a really nice week for running backs, both in terms of value, high-end options, reasonably priced high-end options, and, breaking down and getting some high-end wide receivers.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at cash game guys first here. Obviously, I think this one's a clear-cut number one in terms of paying up, and that's D'Angelo Williams.
I understand, maybe being worried about him averaging 2.9 yards per carry last week, but the point is he averaged 2.9 yards per carry and he got 36 touches, and he almost had 100 rushing yards. So that's going to be what this last week is. They planned this going into the season. They were going to run him into the ground until Le'Veon gets back. Le'Veon's back next week. He's going to get 30 touches again. We know this deal at this point. He should be 100% in cash, but some people aren't going to play him in cash, so you take advantage of that. 7,500 against the Eagles. I get the Eagles have improved this year, especially compared to the fast pace, that they played at last year, but it's just so easy for me. He's involved in the passing game. He's involved in the red zone. Other than Antonio Brown, they really don't have any prominent pieces in that offense. It's just super easy to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. 7,500, I think with enough other value backs, with enough value wide receivers, he still fits in kind of with, whoever you want to pay up for a quarterback. If you want to get Brown, either put him alongside of him. Because Pittsburgh's one of those teams where it's like, because those two are the only focal options, it doesn't matter.
And Todd Haley's an absolute magician. He just knows how to get players in the right places. He needs to be head coach again. I don't care if he's a jerk. He's a jerk that knows how to, just get the ball down the field. I mean, he had Dwayne Bowe catch 15 touchdown passes, so I just trust him with all his skill position players. So that's how we're looking at it.
Where would you want to see him? Buffalo?
Oh, no. Don't send Todd Haley to Buffalo.
Well,
no, I don't know. Somewhere, no. We can't waste him there. We need him somewhere. I don't know where, but we need him somewhere good.
Indianapolis?
Well, that'd be optimal, yeah.
That'd
be where we'd want him to go, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Indianapolis here, you're looking at the opposing running back, Melvin Gordon, for San Diego at 5,800. Really nice pricing for a guy who's going to be, pretty heavily involved.
So I'm looking at Melvin Gordon and Frank Gore here. Melvin Gordon, 5,800. Frank Gore at 5,000. I think both of those are tremendous options. You look at Gordon, obviously the 3 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Danny Woodhead going out with the major injury. Melvin Gordon, first-round pick last year, 15th overall. Really starting to look better when, they set him up in the I formation. Phillip Rivers is obviously looking lethal so far this year, even with, the situation around him just falling apart every week. He's just 3 years in a row of just pain every week for him, it seems. But this game is so perfect for both running backs. And I know it might be a little contrarian to say Frank Gore's a cash game play, but I think with that salary and this matchup and the implied totals and just the workload, he's gotten 16-plus touches in each of the first 2 weeks. I think there's going to be plenty of goal line touches to go around. And it just matches up so well. Jason Verrett is really good. That Chargers secondary is really good. They're going to funnel down. All the Colts production is really going to come from secondary pieces and the tight ends and close to the line of scrimmage guys and luck. So I could see a big week for Frank Gore, and maybe them giving him a few more touches than they'd even feel comfortable with on a normal week just because of the way this game is going to funnel.
Yeah, I think so. And you look, 800 less than Gordon, obviously a little bit of a pay down. but you got to still imagine. I think Gore might have a little bit of ownership just for the sake of more than what you'd expect, but it's not going to be high.
No, in tournaments, it's not going to be high, and that's why I like him there. But I also think he's in play in cash. You could play 3 running backs and feel really comfortable about it. In terms of 5K wide receivers, you do like Stephon Diggs in that range, but beyond him and Devontae Parker, I think it's pretty wide open in terms of your flex spots.
Yeah, I do too. And I think with those kind of mid-tier, you jump up a little bit. That's kind of where you're looking at wide receivers, that kind of Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson type range, instead of more so the value.
Yeah, and in terms of Melvin Gordon, one more quick thing. He's going to get 20 to 25 touches. He was with Woodhead, so without him, he's certainly going to see a large portion of the touches. Dexter McCluster is there, but that's not a threat for really any of his role. That's just for him to get a break.
Yeah, definitely. And you're looking to pay up actually in another GPP spot for Todd Gurley on the road at Tampa. What about him that kind of makes him so appealing this week?
Ownership percentage. I see 3 to 5%. I don't think anyone's going to be on him after the first 2 weeks. I think people have looked and strived for a reason to not play Todd Gurley, and they finally have their stretch to not play him. And certainly not a cash game play, but I think if you're looking to be different in a tournament, especially if you're combining him with the Rams defense, I think this is a great way to go. Jameis Winston obviously looked great in week 1, but week 2 he was below average to say the least. We got Robert Quinn and Aaron Donald getting a lot of pressure there. I think Mike Evans is going to be having a big week here, but I just think that's a great game to stack if you're going to play it. So if you're going Evans, if you're going Gurley, if you're going Rams, I think that's a great way to get a really unique lineup construction in the tournament. And Gurley had a rushing touchdown against them last year, had around 70 total yards. So he had a pretty good game last year. I just think this is an interesting, contrarian move that you could get an elite player at 3 to 5%.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think that game overall is going to be one that's very overlooked, for many of the reasons you pointed out, and kind of with those names to get exposure to. In terms of value running backs, obviously this is due to the injury to Adrian Peterson, who's going to be out for a few months. You're looking at Jerick McKinnon at 3,800.
Yeah, and I will also throw Shane Vereen in there at 37. I think both of them are pretty much in the same position this week. Vereen's a little better matchup, but I don't like him as much as a player. McKinnon, the talk of McKinnon and Asiata being in a committee is kind of laughable to me, because I don't really care if Asiata's stealing 15 carries a game, because it doesn't matter. They're going to be, the goal line type carries or 3rd and 2. Like, he's not going to be the guy to be, stealing those 3rd down catches. That's just not what he is. So McKinnon's going to be the receiving down role. Sam Bradford's going to want to pass more. They're not going to be able to rely on this running game anymore. So they're going to want to be getting out in space. Stephon Diggs is obviously there. Panthers, I could see them running away with this one. In terms of this matchup this week, I actually think the Panthers are a great matchup in terms of playing their defense. I just think people are looking at this primetime game and are going to be, on Bradford and Diggs a little more than they probably should. To Carolina is going to be a really tough matchup. But if they do get blown out, I think McKinnon's a great upside play in terms of those 3rd down catches. And he's obviously an elite athlete. I don't care what defense it is. If he gets in a one-on-one, he's going to be, to the advantage if it's a one-on-one versus a linebacker or someone in the secondary trying to tackle him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just you look at his overall production and what you talked about, his athleticism. There's a lot there that he can kind of be versatile in going up against defenses like a Carolina. At 3,800, it feels like you don't have much to lose either. I feel like if he was up $1,000 more near Sims or Riddick, it would kind of push me probably me off of him a little bit. But at that price, I kind of like it.
Yeah, and I'm almost kind of hoping for a down week from him, so maybe people get off him for week 4. But I think people are going to at least see, if he gets 15 touches, they're going to at least see one or two wow plays that gets people excited. So at 3,800, it's going to be tough to compete with some of those value tight ends in the flex, but I think he's worthy of at least tournament consideration.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was just about to ask you: is cash or GPP if you feel comfortable with, but you were leaning
No
more towards
cash.
yeah,
Yeah, no cash.
and that has a lot to do with the fact that the workload is still kind of a question mark between the two.
Yeah, I could definitely see Asiata getting 10 to 15 carries. They're not going to be the fantasy relevant touches of the world unless you're talking about goal line, which I don't see the Vikings being in the red zone very much for the rest of the year. But yeah, so I think McKinnon's the fantasy guy there.
Yep, definitely in agreement with you. Anyone else you want to talk about? Kind of a lot going on this week in terms of value.
Uh,
Any Sims or Riddick takes you want to finish off?
I don't like their matchups as much this week. I think Riddick's going to see an increased workload. The guy to watch there is Dwayne Washington and how they use him and Zenner. That's going to be the matchup you're watching for future weeks. Charles Sims going to be a great option. I just don't love him this week. If you want to get weird, I'm certainly not against it in a tournament, but I think I'm pretty stuck on Frank Gore for better or worse.
Yeah, definitely. I think, overall matchup, he's the more appealing back. So
Certainly.
that's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings running back analysis. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content, and be sure to head on over and subscribe to our YouTube.